And welcome back to the Uni Podcast. Today's episode, I'm super stoked on. We've got Steve Serio here. Steve is a 5-time Paralympian and one of the greatest wheelchair basketball players of all time. He's brought home 3 gold medals and a bronze for Team USA and has spent nearly 2 decades competing at the highest level of the sport. So, Steve, thank you so much. Such a privilege to have you on.
Love it, man. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to get into it with you.
Of course. Before we get going, and talk about your epic run with Team USA, I'd love to just start from the beginning, get some of your background.
Yeah. So first off, thank you for having me.
Of course.
I love Uni. I love what you guys are doing. I love the platform that you guys are building here and the community. So again, just thanks for having me and
of course,
giving me a chance to tell my story. So I like to tell people that my life truly began when I was 11 months old. I was actually born with a benign spinal tumor that went undiagnosed for the first 11 months of my life. During that time, the tumor became infected and inflamed and crushed my spinal cord, resulting in the incomplete paralysis of my lower extremity. So living with a disability, it's all I know. It's all I remember. Despite my disability, my family and my loved ones were determined to give me a quote-unquote normal life, a normal childhood. I attended a normal public school system. I had able-bodied friends, and I played able-bodied sports to the best of my abilities. Back then when I was growing up, sports were just about a way to be with my friends. It was all about inclusion. And we would have to tailor the rules a little bit so that I could participate. So for instance, I grew up on Long Island, New York, so I'm a big Yankees fan. I know to all the Dodgers fans out there, I'm really sorry. You guys won, fair and square. But I grew up a big baseball player. And so, for instance, everybody around me, all the kids were ambulatory. So I felt like I needed to walk. So I used to walk with these big clunky braces and crutches. So basically, when it was my turn to hit for my team, I would kind of waddle up to the plate. I'd have a crutch in one hand. I'd have a bat in the other. I'd swing. I'd hit the ball. And then someone else would run on the first for me. And then I would take his or her place when the play was over. And that's exactly how my athletic career started. It was about inclusion. It was about me being out there with my friends. And who would have thought that that would be the seed to what I would become as a Team USA athlete? But that was kind of the condensed version of who I started as an athlete.
Got it. And so, like you said, from a very young age, like your only memory has been what you're experiencing currently.
Yeah, from the very beginning, I always knew that I was an athlete. I always knew that I was different. I always knew I had a disability, but it didn't cause me any insecurity until later on in life. When I attended middle school and started to get in my teenage years, that was when my friends started to progress in their athletics and in their everyday life, and I felt like I was very much left behind. I tell people that living with a disability is not easy. The last thing you could possibly want when you're growing up is to be different, and it's particularly tough when you have a disability because everyone can see your differences. You know, those flaws, those insecurities, those differences are constantly on display to the world around you. And it caused me to have a lot of insecurity about who I was as a person. So on my personal life, I would always be petrified to ask someone to the middle school dance, or how will I be able to dance with them at this middle school dance, because I have to move so different. And would anyone really accept me for who I am as a person because of that? Athletically, when I was 13 or 14 years old, I remember I made my middle school baseball team, and I went to the tryouts. I had a great camp. Always had good hands. I was a good fielder. And it was one of my most pleasurable sports moments was to make that team. And about a week later, after we went and celebrated with my friends, and we were talking about the season and how awesome it was going to be, I got a message from the school board, and they weren't going to honor that tryout list, or that me making the team, because of safety and liability reasons. And I tell that story because that's what it feels like to live with a disability. The world is constantly telling you what you don't have or what you can't do, regardless of who you are as a person. But just like any kid, I wanted to be a part of the team. So I became the manager of all the different sports teams, keeping stats, keeping times, and just wanting to be on the field of play with my friends. And I became this inspirational disabled leader to say that, like, hey, I can't be out there with you all, but you owe it to me to give everything that you have, because I can't be out there. And I did that until I was about 15, and I just realized that I wasn't born to sit on the sidelines. I needed to find an athletic outlet for myself, and it just so happened that the most influential moment of my life was going to happen, and that was the day that I found wheelchair basketball.
Amazing. And how did you find wheelchair basketball? Was this something you sought out or your parents sought out, or was it something that just kind of happened?
Yeah, so this is showing my age a little bit, but this is before the age of social media, so there was no Facebook back when I was growing up. I was working with a physical therapist that had persistently tried to get me involved with adaptive sports. And because I played able-body sports, I felt like I never really needed that world. I never needed that community. Until I had all those experiences, and she convinced me and my father to go down to a wheelchair basketball practice. There was a kids team that played and trained 10 minutes away from where I grew up that I never knew about, which is incredibly frustrating looking back on it. But I remember going down and not having any context of what the sport was. Obviously, like, it's basketball in a wheelchair. But do you play at the same 10-foot hoop? Do you play 5-on-5? Is there dribbling? Like, I just had no context of what the sport was. And I remember going down and sitting in a wheelchair for the very first time in my life, pushing up and down the court, and within the first 5 or 10 minutes of the practice, feeling free for the first time in my life. For the first time, the rules didn't have to be changed so that I could participate. I was around like-minded individuals and their parents that had gone through similar experiences that I went through, me and my loved ones. And I just found a community, and anybody who's found a community knows how powerful that can be. I learned that very day, that not by hiding my disability, but by embracing those things that made me different, embracing my disability, I was able to shatter any limitations anyone would ever try to place upon me. And wheelchair basketball became the vehicle in which I was going to change the world. Wow. It was my opportunity to give back to a community that has given me everything, but change the perceptions about what can and should be possible about people with mobility differences.
And it sounds like almost you found your calling. Like, as soon as you experience this, like you said, the freedom of being able to play and rules weren't changed for you. And this was like eye-opening, definitely a changing point in your life.
Yeah. Going through transitions are always really scary, whether they're on the positive side or on the negative side, however you define them. Transitions are scary. This one was scary because it was a world was open up to me that I never really knew about. So I felt like I was constantly playing catch up. However, I knew I was really talented at what I wanted to do, and I knew I had big goals. I had a great support system behind me. My parents were the parents that would always say yes to any practice, any game that we were going to. We were there, and it just felt incredibly empowering to be a part of a community that saw me for the total me. I didn't have to hide anything. Even though I was pretty talented as an athlete early on, it felt like they saw me for who I was, and that was just very welcoming.
Did you have any adaptive sport professional athletes at this point that you were looking up to?
No. So all the athletes that I looked up to were able-bodied athletes. They were like, again, I'm going to age myself. They were like the John Starks, the Allen Houstons, the New York Knicks, the Don Mattingleys, the New York Yankees. Like, these are athletes that I want to be like, but I can't see myself in their journey because of my disability. And getting on and finding a little bit more fulfillment later on my Team USA, this is what I always come back to. It's that whenever somebody sees a social media clip of us playing wheelchair basketball, anybody sees an opportunity for us to play on Peacock at the Paralympics, I can't help but feel so grateful that they're getting a chance to see athletes that look like them, that have similar stories to them, and us chasing down our individual dreams, because that was not something I had growing up. It was incredibly isolating to go through that because it felt like maybe nobody has had this experience. But there's a lot of pros and cons to social media and the age we're living in now, but I think that's definitely one of them.
Now, it would be easy for us to be like, Steve found wheelchair basketball and then went to 5 Olympics, won 3 gold medals. But I want to talk a little bit about the learning curve of finding wheelchair basketball. And I'm sure it wasn't like you get in the chair and all of a sudden you're just like going up and down the court crushing it. Yeah,
no, that's not how any great path starts. I've done I've actually done a lot of team building and corporate DE&I work, especially in New York City, throughout the years, and I've gotten a chance to meet a lot of influential people who have accomplished great things in their life. The two things that every successful person has is, number one, it's grit. It's the ability to try something, lose, and then pick yourself back up and try again at all costs. Like there's no question on whether or not I'm doing this the right way or whether or not I want to do this. It's like, yes, like this is my goal. And the other one is flexibility. It's everybody has a plan until that plan gets knocked off its course, and how you adapt to that plan is going to determine how successful you are. So when I was starting wheelchair basketball, yes, I was talented and yes, I was passionate, but I didn't really experience a true loss, a true failure until 2008 in my first Paralympic Games. And that was maybe 3 or 4 years after I started playing wheelchair basketball. It was kind of a linear growth for me. I never really had a concept of what it would mean to be a Team USA athlete and compete at a Paralympic Games. It was just, go to a juniors team, win a national championship, get accepted to the University of Illinois on a full athletic scholarship, and attend Team USA. Like that was just like the last 3 years of my high school. But in 2008 in Beijing, we finished 4th in those games, and I know how privileged it is to sound like finishing 4th is a failure, but for us and for me personally, it was a failure. We had very high expectations, and starting wheelchair basketball, that was the first time where I really had to question whether or not this is something I really wanted to do, and whether or not wheelchair basketball was going to be a part of the path for me.
With the equipment for wheelchair basketball, because it's not your typical wheelchair, and I think a lot of people who aren't familiar with that wouldn't know that you're not using the same wheelchair that you use to get around day to day is not the same chair you're using during a game. What's the differences, and what's the learning curve like to be proficient in a basketball chair?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll start by saying that, like you said, we use a different wheelchair for our athletics versus the everyday wheelchairs that we have at home. And as we see, just living our everyday life, that wheelchair is designed to be more agile, more resilient, and be accustomed to our body types and our disability in a way that can maximize our athletic potential. So, like you said, those wheelchairs, it's not really a learning curve. Like if you're athletic, I could teach you how to play wheelchair basketball in about 5 minutes. It really is the same mechanics. It's the same game. It's the same movements as able-bodied basketball, except you just really can't jump. So the learning curve for an athlete is actually pretty low. The thing I want to highlight, though, is wheelchair basketball, or a lot of adaptive sports, have a lot of financial hurdles associated with them. They're not considered an essential piece of equipment, so healthcare doesn't cover adaptive sport wheelchairs or running legs or stuff like that. So you have to go through like the nonprofit world to really find a little bit of financial assistance for anybody who wants to play wheelchair basketball. Those chairs can cost anywhere between $5,000 and $10,000. I think the wheelchair that I used in Paris with the high performance wheels and straps and everything was close to like $12,000. So there's a financial hurdle associated with adaptive sports that there isn't for able-bodied athletes. It's just one of the reasons why we're so passionate about giving back, is because we never want somebody to deal with that financial burden and feel like they can't participate, because everybody should have the ability to participate in sports. But thank you for highlighting that, because it's something that I think is really important to highlight and endorse, that, no matter what you want to do, there's something out there for you, and there's a nonprofit, there's a team, there's people that are willing to help along your athletic journey.
So there are, like you're saying, there are resources for people if they're wanting to get into adaptive sports, and there is that financial barrier. Do you know off the top of your head some of those resources that people can go to?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Wheelchair Basketball Association is a big nonprofit. It's the National Wheelchair Basketball Association, and they help connect people with teams that are in your local area. But if you want a piece of equipment, there's tons of nonprofits. On the East Coast, there's the Welger Foundation that provide grants for sporting equipment and travel. On the West Coast, or kind of nationally, there's the Challenge Athletes Foundation that is a huge nonprofit that gives out over $1 million of grants every single year to people looking for mobility equipment, not only for wheelchair basketball, but they're really into like ultra marathons and endurance sports athletes and bike athletics and swimming. So like there's if you need some piece of equipment for your athletic endeavors or your mobility needs, there's tons of resources out there for people that want to help.
Amazing. And we'll link some of those in our show notes as well for people who are listening. I know for me, I grew up playing baseball, and you've got rec league, you've got high school baseball, then it goes into like travel ball where, a lot of people who are wanting to play at the next level will get scouted, things like that. For wheelchair basketball, is it kind of the same structure?
Yeah, so wheelchair basketball is run by that nonprofit that I just mentioned, and there's a bunch of different divisions. There's like prep divisions for kids within the age of 5 to 12. There's junior varsity, and there's varsity. They're all going out throughout your life before college. And one of the best things about wheelchair basketball in this country is that we have a really strong collegiate system. So after you play in your high school years, let's say for your local team, you have the ability to get a higher education through grants and scholarships at some really amazing universities. I attended the University of Illinois, but University of Alabama has a great program, University of Auburn, Missouri, University of Whitewater, Wisconsin. There's pretty much something for everybody if you feel like you want to take your game to the next level in addition to getting a proper education. So that's one of the things that we offer as an adaptive sport that not other adaptive sports offer, which we're very proud of as an organization. But I will say that there's a level and a skill development for whoever wants to play. So if you want to just be like a weekend warrior and come out sometimes and just be a part of the community, I guarantee you that there's a local team or there's a local community there wherever you are in the country. And then if you want to play a little bit more high performance style, we still kind of ask you to go through those normal channels, but then there's always the USOPC, there's always the next step on your journey. And then ultimately it concludes with, anybody who wants to be a part of Team USA and represent their country, then there's tons of resources for that as well. Amazing.
So what was your decision or the defining thing that helped you choose Illinois over some of these other schools?
For me, it was, again, back in the day, there was no University of Alabama. There was no University of Auburn. It was kind of a Big Ten school that I felt very connected to because coming from New York City, I wanted to go to a big campus. I wanted to go to a place where I could meet people outside of the team. Yeah. But I also felt an incredible connection to that coach at the time. His name is Mike Frogley. He's one of my biggest mentors that I've had over the course of my career. We still stay in touch. And sometimes when you feel a connection to a coach like that, like how I describe it is there's coaches or there's leaders that validate you, there's coaches or leaders that help you, and then there's coaches and leaders that change you. And he was just one of those leaders that changed me. It changed my mindset, it changed my potential, it changed my confidence, and that was the main reason why I went there.
Amazing. Yeah, coaching is such a big thing. Not just like you said, they know the game, they know the skills, how to teach you, but like my brother played collegiate baseball and he had not quite the same relationship with his coach where he knew his stuff, like he knew what he was talking about, but from the nurturing standpoint, not there at all. So that I can see how that would make a huge difference in choosing where you wanted to go, especially when you spend so much time with that person and with your teammates. You really want that to be a relationship that you want to be involved with and around.
Yeah, when kids are young, right? Like pre-college, like sports should be fun. Like sports should be inclusive. It's when you're learning about teamwork and building consistent working habits, and it should all be as fun as humanly possible. When I look back on my career, I'm not sad or happy that I won or lost a national championship when I was like 16 or 17 years old. Like those were formative experiences. The things that I look back on are just being a part of the team, eat meals with my teammates and just being around like-minded individuals. The win or losses were kind of irrelevant. When you take that next step in your collegiate years, yes, it becomes more about performance, but that you still need nurturing. Like you still need emotional and mental guidance. You're 18, 19 years old. You think that you know how to navigate the world, but I promise you that you don't. For me, when I was going to the University of Illinois, Mike Frogley, that coach, was not only a mentor on the field of play, but he was kind of that father figure off the field of play for all of the athletes, which, when you're 18, 19 years old, you're leaving home, you're stepping into a brand new world. I joke around now, but it was the very first time I saw a cow was when I attended college at the University of Illinois. Like, that was a kind of a culture shift for me.
Yeah.
And it was incredibly reassuring to know that this person is going to challenge me. He's going to change me in the best of ways, but he's always got my back. Like, he's always going to be that safety net that I need as I continue my growth both on and off the field of play. And, it's sad, but like you said, for your brother, like, sometimes it just becomes about performance. And, I get it. I understand how impactful performance can be in athletics, but it's not the whole story.
For sure. So training in college, coming from high school to college, going to be a step up. What was that like, training in college for wheelchair basketball, but also balancing that with your studies? And also, what were you majoring in?
So I was majoring in exercise science and gerontology. There's a big research focus in that field at the University of Illinois. So I was primarily going to go into research and go into how your body adapts to your different disability levels, especially for spinal cord injuries, like the way that we metabolize and use oxygen and metabolize food for energy is different when you're, a C-level injury versus a L-level injury. So that was what I was originally going to do. But like you said, the transition from training that was where sports became not just a hobby, it became a lifestyle. Any high-performance athlete will tell you that to be the best of your ability, you have to make these constant decisions about whether or not this is going to hurt your performance that very day or the very next day. So anything that goes into your body, anything that goes into your mind, anything that goes into your physical ability to perform is a decision that you have to make each and every day. So in college, whether or not you're 18 or your early 20s, those decisions don't feel like they have a lot of consequences because you're in your 20s and you can eat whatever you want, you can drink whatever you want, you can still wake up and train and be the best version of yourself the next day. But it got you into building those habits that are going to carry you to have a 20 plus Team USA career like I did. Again, it wasn't necessarily about the wins and losses for me in college. I was more focused on being the absolute, like, I'm addicted to growth. Like, I'm addicted to progress, and to see the progress that we made as a group and that I made individually over those 4 years is what I look back on most fondly. Whether or not we won or lost, there's so many things outside of your control in that aspect. However, those were really formative years for me that were going to create the launch pad that was going to propel me to different heights in my career.
Amazing. Was there time to have fun, or was it all work, no play?
No, there's always time to have fun. I mean, it is college. You are exploring not only yourself on the field of play, but off the field of play as well. And it was a really cool opportunity for me because just having exposure to a completely different community of people in the Midwest outside of Chicago, like, I just soaked it all in. I didn't really. I didn't mind that I was different. I didn't mind that I was from this community that had nothing in common with the other college kids on campus. I just embraced it. I knew that this was going to be kind of a temporary moment, but I just tried to embrace all that college had to offer.
So finishing up college, you're getting towards the end of your years there. What was that like? Because you end up going and playing overseas. Was that something that organically happened? How did all that come about?
Yeah, that's a good question. So for a little bit of context, the National Wheelchair Basketball Association is the nonprofit that allows us to play wheelchair basketball here in the States. If you want to play professionally, if you want to get paid to play, all those professional teams are over in Europe.
Got it. So there is no professional league in the U.S.
We've tried a couple times. There's been a couple of big sponsors that have tried to invest in creating a professional league here. It's just really hard logistically. When I was playing for the New York Knicks, the four best teams in the country were the New York Knicks, Dallas Mavericks, Golden State Warriors, and the Milwaukee Bucks. So like you literally can't get further away from each other.
Yeah.
And when you don't have a schedule, when you can't logistically tell sponsors and friends and family to come out and invest in our journeys, when it's like we have one game a year, and if you miss that one game, like what are you going to do?
Right.
So there's a little bit of a logistical challenge creating a professional league here in the States, but also there's tons of competition. For basketball, there's obviously high school and AAU and collegiate basketball and WNBA and the NBA. Like, we have so much basketball in this country that, yes, wheelchair basketball is a very specific niche, but it's not like people can't get their fix for basketball in other arenas. Whereas in Europe, there's obviously the European League that we have to compete with, but like if I was living in Germany for about 6 or 7 years, and that's where I was playing professionally. If you wanted to see basketball in that region, you came to the wheelchair basketball team. Like, you came to see the best basketball athletes in that region, and it was us, which was a really cool moment to say that, like, you are getting paid to play, you're getting paid to perform, but you're also getting a chance to experience this amazing new life, this amazing new culture, and these amazing new people. So yes, it comes with a little bit more pressure, and it was a very fulfilling experience, but it did provide you with a lot of growth off the field of play, which, again, looking back on those experiences, that's what I treasure.
Was it like a draft style, the same as, how did that work?
No, it's not a draft. It's basically wheelchair basketball community is a pretty small community globally. And then when you reach a certain point, like by that point, I had been on Team USA. I had competed in the 2008 Paralympic Games. I had a little bit of a name for myself, but I was a little unproven. So when I was looking for a club team to play overseas, not only did I get lowballed by the club that I was working with, but the reason I got a chance to compete with that team was because another Team USA athlete was on that team.
Okay.
So he kind of vouched for me as a way to be like, hey, this athlete is going to be something, and you want to be there like the beginning part of the journey. Now there's the professional leagues in Europe have grown so much. There's basically 10 or 12 professional teams in Germany, Italy, Spain, Turkey, France. Wow. Like, there's a bunch of places that people can go now. It's pretty easy with social media to find a club that is willing to invest in you and give you a great experience as well as an athlete. Back when I was trying, there was only maybe 2 or 3 great teams in Germany, and I was fortunate to get a part of one of those great clubs.
Nice. I didn't realize you were already involved with Team USA before you started playing overseas. So tell me about how that came about.
Yeah, so my first Team USA was 2006, which was my sophomore year in college. That was a world championship year, and then I competed in my first Paralympic Games in my junior or senior year. It's all kind of blended together because of all the semesters that I took off for training in wheelchair basketball.
Where was the first Olympics you were in?
The first Paralympics I was in was in 2008 in Beijing.
Beijing,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Again, wild to go there into a completely different world. So I was still in college when I made my first Team USA, and then after I graduated in 2010, that's when you have to make a choice as an athlete. Do you want to go back to your hometown and live the kind of recreational wheelchair basketball life because it doesn't pay the bills, or do you want to still progress in your game? And to do that, you have to play every day, you have to train every day, and to get paid to do it, you have to go over to Europe. So for me, it wasn't really an option. It was like, this is what I wanted to do. I'm 23, 24 years old. I don't have a care or responsibility in the world. Let's go to Europe. Let's see what this is about. And it was only supposed to be for a year, for a season, which is about 10 months long, and I stayed for 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
So I definitely found a place that I felt comfortable growing both on and off the field of play.
Did you do tryouts for Team USA that first Paralympics you were in?
Yep. Every single year you have to try out for Team USA to make sure that your skills are deteriorating. Yeah. So every single year, right after the holidays in the beginning of January, you go to Colorado Springs at the training center. They basically bring in the top 30 athletes or so from the men and women's side, and you battle it out over a couple of days. There's usually 2 rounds of tryouts, so then you come back in March or April for the second round of tryouts, and then that's when you have your Team USA made for that specific calendar year. Usually there's not a lot of turnover because they want you to commit to a 4-year segment for each Paralympic Games, but it really is an opportunity for the best players in the world or the best players in the country to show their skills every single year, and it keeps you motivated to want to keep progressing for the team.
Hey guys, it's Lofton. Ever wonder why 2 nurses would start making shoes? Let me tell you why. My co-founder Alex and I realized our running shoes were destroying our feet at work because they were designed for runners, not us. So we designed the first high-performance work shoe built for all-day standing. With max comfort, fluid and slip resistance, and extreme durability, our shoes will leave your feet, knees, and back feeling great at the end of the day. Check us out at www.uni.shoes.
What was it like coming into the Team USA Paralympic wheelchair basketball team? You've got guys on there, I'm sure, who have been there for a while. They're the leaders of the team. You're brand new rookie. Was it automatic? They're nurturing you? Do they give you kind of like the rookie treatment? Like, what's that like?
So yes to all of what you just said. When I first started playing Team USA, I think I was 19 years old on my first team. I turned 21 at the 2008 Beijing Paralympic Games. We beat Brazil that day, so that was a great 21st birthday. But for me, it was the idea of how important it is to learn how to be a follower before you learn how to lead. And I wouldn't say there was any rookie hazing. Yes, there was a little jabbing here or there, but it was always to build you up to understand what it feels like to be the last person on the team, so that when you are a leader, you don't overlook what it feels like to be that quote unquote 12th man on the team. So I definitely had to earn my spot. I definitely had to work as hard as the guys with a little bit more experience than me, but I always knew that no matter how much rookie duties that there were, no matter how hard they were on the field of play for me, it was always in my best interest. And that's the difference in whether or not you're going to grow as an athlete or whether or not people are going to decide that this isn't the path for me. I am somebody who I'm an Italian New Yorker. Like I'm not gonna hide my feelings for you, and I don't expect you to hide your feelings about me at all. So I don't ever brush back on people. I never brush back on conflict, especially within group dynamics, because as long as I know that those conflicts are in mine and our best interest, like bring it on. Like I want to be challenged. I want to get my butt kicked by people who I know who have my best interests at heart. And that's how I would describe like the first couple of years of being on Team USA. Like no matter how good you are, you're going to get your ass kicked. Like it's just part of the journey. But those people who are doing that are shaping you and changing you and helping you grow into the player that you will be one day. And it's something that is kind of a circle of life thing for all Team USA athletes. They understand what that means. And it was just a great couple of years to just kind of be a part of that growth.
When did because you became team captain of USA, at what point did you take on that leadership role?
Yeah, so I've had a wild Team USA journey. So in 2008, we finished fourth, which was a really disheartening experience. Fast forward 4 years to 2012 in London, which was one of the most fun games I've ever been a part of. But we finished third in those games, which again, it was a wonderful milestone to hit for us to be on that podium, but it wasn't the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
But I would say that I truly transformed into the leader that I am today right before the next Paralympic Games in 2016 in Rio. And if you let me, I just have a really short and quick story that I like to tell people about my change in views in leadership. So I always thought leadership was about doing. I always thought leadership, like I grew up during the age of like Michael Jordan, which was like give him the ball in the final seconds of the game and he's going to go win the game for the team. And I look at that and I thought that's what leadership was. And I learned that is the complete opposite of how I want to be as a leader. And I remember my views on leadership changed during a team building exercise. So for anybody who's done these team building exercises, we do them all the time on Team USA. Everybody understands the point. But after doing them for years and years and years, you kind of roll your eyes at all these team building exercises. But this one in particular really stood out and it changed the course of our journey. So all 12 athletes on Team USA, we were sitting around a conference room table. And we had a piece of paper in front of us with a list of items. And our sports psych told us to imagine that we were trapped in a snow-capped mountain in an automobile that had died in a blizzard. And our task was to figure out a way to get home or survive and get home. And the piece of paper had a list of items that we had access to. And basically you were supposed to look at the items and decide based on level of importance how you are going to use those items and craft a story to survive and get home. So I look at the piece of paper and I see like there's like a flare gun, like I'm out in the wilderness. Like I rank that pretty high. I see that there's a knife. I see that I'm kind of thinking like, well, I'm gonna need like protection for something. So like I rank that pretty high, and like on and on I go. So after a couple of minutes, our sports psych asks who wants to go first. I'm the captain. I'm the leader. I will, of course, go first because you got to set the tone. So I tell them about my flare gun. I tell them about my knife and what I'm going to use it for, and on I go. And it was determined by the group that I would survive for about 2.5 minutes before I die, which absolutely makes sense. I'm a kid from New York City. If I'm trapped in a blizzard on a snow-capped mountain, like just use me for food. Like I'm so useless. Like I'm less than useless.
Survival skills not top notch.
Nope. I have zero survival skills. I can barely survive Central Park. So everybody gets a big laugh about it, and we go throughout the rest of the guys, and we get to one of my teammates. And I apologize for all the sports metaphors, but I would describe him as kind of like the offensive lineman on the team. He's somebody who does the dirty work. He's somebody who he has to do his job so that I can do my flashy job and score, and everybody gets to look at me. But I can't do my job unless he does his job first. And we on the team know how valuable he is, but he's not as known for his contributions to the outside world. So we get to him. And he has the most elaborate survival story I've ever heard. He could be on that like those like survival Netflix whatever shows. He's got like this. He's like burning these like wooden toys that he found in the backseat of the car from this tire pit. So he like basically created like a little fireplace. He's got like this water filtration system from like the hoses in the car. He's got like the floor mats. He's like basically built like this huge shelter. Like he could just live there.
Wow.
Like needless to say, like he won the team building exercise, and the rest of the day like we're going around and like pointing stuff, being like, dude, like how would that be in your compound? Like what would you use that for? So we get to practice the next day, and it's a normal practice. Like everyone's tired. We're just trying to motivate each other. And this athlete, we'll call him, let's say, how do I want to call him? We'll call him Jim. So Jim is locked in. He is engaged. He's communicative. He is just like being the best version of himself as an athlete. So like he had a great day. So we go back to the cafeteria. We come back to the practice the next day. Same thing. I mean, he is just completely locked in, just doing whatever he can for the team, and his teams are just being successful over and over and over again. We go home from that training camp. We all regroup. We come back about 10 days later. Same thing. I mean, like Jim is just like super locked in. So if we fast forward to about a month before the Rio Paralympic Games, and the coach awards him with a spot in the starting five. It's an incredible honor for any athlete to not only represent your country, but to be in the starting five of a game. It's a wonderful moment. And so we're all going around and congratulating him. And I pull him aside and I just say like, dude, I just got to know, like, are you just really excited to be at your first Paralympic Games? Like I had been his teammate on Team USA for a number of years, but like I have never seen this side of him before.
Wow.
And so he pointed back to that team building exercise, and he was like, being a part of Team USA is wonderful. It's getting a chance to compete with you all is the opportunity of a lifetime. But it was the very first time in my Team USA career where I was the best at something. Wow. It was the first time where like I got a chance to show you this random side of me that doesn't come up on the court. It doesn't come up when like we're, BSing in the cafeteria. And it was just like this really cool moment where I just felt very seen and very connected to you. And we went on to win gold. That was our first Paralympic gold medal in 2016. And Jim played a massive part of that success and bringing that team together. And my views on leadership changed that very day. It was true leadership is not about doing. True leadership is about creating an environment where those around you feel empowered and inspired to be the best versions of themselves. And now when I am looking to try to bring people together, it has nothing to do with performance. Yeah. Like it has nothing to do with us getting better at basketball. It has everything to do with people feeling comfortable to be 100% of who they are. And it was always super frustrating to me because I always think back to when I was growing up that was the problem. It wasn't that I wasn't a good athlete. It was that I didn't feel seen. Yeah. I was living in a world that wasn't built for me. And now anytime I'm a part of a group, I'm a part of a team moving forward, that's the one thing that I'm always constantly trying to do is who in this group doesn't feel like they can be 100% of who they are. And let's figure out a way to change that. And it was a moment that didn't come easily to me. I had been a captain and a leader for years before then, but it was one of the most monumental changes when it comes to my views on teamwork and leadership that I've ever experienced.
I love that mind shift from not being performance minded as a leader, because I think that's what I think of too. It's like, if I'm a part of something, I'm the leader, it's getting everybody else to be better at what they're doing, where we're all training, we're all trying to get better, but it's when you come together, you feel seen, you feel connected to the people around you. And that's what a leader of like a group is supposed to do. And that's when you're actually going to tap into your full potential and be able to get there. Not just getting on somebody to work harder or do more drills and do all this. So that makes complete sense. And I can see how that would be a memory that would really stick out in your mind and change the way you approach leadership.
Yeah, I'm not a motivator. Like, I'm not going to be that rah-rah person. I mean, you guys all are a part of this amazing CrossFit community here in Echo Park. And when I go into, and I watch you guys all work out, like, you guys are so motivating to each other. It makes me so, like, uncomfortable, because that's just not how it is on Team USA and the way that we approach training. So I'm not that person. Like, I don't have that skill, but what I do have is the ability to connect with you on a deeper level and the ability to make you feel seen. And that's a powerful thing for a leader, especially when you don't have those motivational kind of skills that other people have. So yeah, it was a transformative moment for me.
Definitely. I want to talk a little bit about your training for Team USA, because I actually watched an interview, I think with Men's Health, and you talked a little bit about that, but I want you to tell the listeners kind of a little bit about your training, because if you guys have not seen wheelchair basketball, go on, look up Steve Serio highlights, because it's awesome, but it is incredible how quickly you guys move down the court, can make just these turns that are just like complete, like so fast. Like if you're not watching, you're going to miss it. The ball's been passed, you've already moved down below the basket, you make the layup, and it's so quick. And I just think it's incredible, because especially for your shoulder and arm strength, I can imagine it would be so easy to like tear a rotator cuff or do all this. So I'm sure training plays a huge part in just staying healthy.
Yeah, well, first off, thank you for doing your research. That Men's Health interview and series that we did before Paris was actually a lot of fun. I got a chance to go into the offices and meet a bunch of people, and they are a wonder to work with, very professional. So that was a really cool thing to be a part of. But to touch on the training aspect, and when you train for any high performance sport or skill, you know that it's going to be a lifestyle. Like I said, it's going to be day in and day out. You're going to have to deal with your on-court work, which is about 1 or 2 hours every single day. You have to deal with your off the field, like strength and conditioning part, your cardio, and then your mental health. Like those are the kind of the all things that you need to train or touch on most days, every single day, if you're going to be the best version of yourself as an athlete. So the training aspect of it, what I try to put through in that mental health article is how important stability and how important injury prevention is to us as wheelchair athletes. When I tear a rotator cuff when I'm playing wheelchair basketball, it's not just about tearing a rotator cuff so I can't play basketball. It's that my entire life is impacted
100%.
in a way that a lot of people don't understand. You know, if able-bodied athletes, you know, they go through an injury, and one of our friends is going through an injury right now, it's really challenging to go through injury, not only athletically, but to go through such a big impact in your personal and activities of daily living. So for us, you know, it's a lot of rotator cuff stuff work. It's a lot of making sure that you are as flexible, you are as resilient as humanly possible. When you get into the chair is designed to be agile. The chair is designed to go fast. It's designed to take a lot of contact, and it's designed to play the sport that we love. So when you see us play wheelchair basketball, the first thing that people say is that, wow, I didn't understand how fast and how physical it was. Yeah. Because you are used to playing able-bodied basketball where, yes, there's a lot of contact, but for us, the contact is the point. Like, I want to bang chairs. Like, we want to physically stop people from going certain places. So thank you for saying that. It is a wonderful sport, and if you've never seen it for the first time, like, definitely go on YouTube and check it out. But but yeah, we're only as good as our equipment, and our equipment is our body, and you have to make sure that it is being addressed every single day, whether or not you're training it, whether or not you're focusing on recovery. It's just as important, both ends of the spectrum. And for me, one of the reasons why I'm possibly making a transition away from Team USA is that my body just doesn't recover the same way that it used to. In my 20s, it was so easy to be a Team USA athlete. Just physically, I was just very locked into my training and my recovery. And now, I'm pushing my late 30s. Things just don't feel the same way. I have chronic shoulder issues. I have chronic neck issues that are all kind of persistently connected. And it's just hard. It's just a little bit harder to live without pain. My body feels great now, but I have taken the year off after Paris, so I feel like there's a connection there. But yeah, it is every day you're training some aspect of your body, and it's a lifestyle, like I said.
Totally. And that's kind of leading us into you had this long run with Team USA. And I don't think people fully understand when you said you were in 5 Paralympic Games. That is a long time. I mean, you were 18, 19 when your first one. And then how old were you for your last one?
Yeah, so that was last year. So I was 36, 37. Yeah.
So that is almost like 2 decades of your life that you're competing at the highest level, which is incredible. I mean, I went back and looked and I was like, how many Olympic Games did Michael Phelps compete in? I think it was 5. Like Michael Johnson, the Olympic runner, he was 4, I think. So even the best athletes, I mean, you're not, there's a timeline, like, because it's so physical, the training is so intense, and to be in the Olympics, you have to be at the very top of your sport. So I can imagine after all that training over, 5 Paralympic Games, what is that like to all of a sudden be like, okay, now is the right time to step away? And part of it you said is it's very physically demanding, but I feel like mentally and emotionally, that has to be such a hard decision to make.
Going through transitions are always uncomfortable, whether they're positive or negative.
Yeah.
Touching on the physical aspects of it, yes, I've had a really great career. I am aided by the fact that we play a skill sport. Like, if you can put the ball in the hole, you don't necessarily have to be the most physically fit person that there is. Like we play a game that is very skill based. So I just want to give that shout out. Like what Phelps did, what Simone does, like those are so physically taxing. And we are playing a skill sport. It's just a different mindset. But I will say that the transition that I'm going through right now has been one of the most confusing, challenging, and fulfilling moments of my life. Since I was 15 years old, I had the sport of wheelchair basketball to fall back on. And not only did it give me my athletic career, but it gave me my confidence. It gave me my self-worth. It gave me my purpose in life, was to not only make the community better and stronger, but to show the world who I am as an athlete, and therefore as someone with a disability. So going through this transition of retiring from Team USA after Paris, it has been really challenging to decide what path I want to go down. Is it something like, do you do the social media thing? Do you do the nonprofit thing? I've gotten involved in some keynotes and some corporate DE&I work, which has been really fulfilling and great, but feels sometimes a little hollow that you're not really having the impact that you want to have. So it's been a struggle. And for me, the last year has been these one-off great experiences. Like I just went to Rwanda to bring a little notoriety to the sport of wheelchair basketball in Rwanda and get a chance to work with the BAL, which is the NBA version of Africa. And it was a wonderful, wonderful week to not only interact with these athletes, but to hopefully bring some new equipment the next time we go over, to interact with them, to motivate them. It was just a wonderfully welcoming experience for the community that I want to help. But I came home and it was like, well, it's over. Like it's not, there's not like this like North Star goal that you have as a Team USA athlete that like every 4 years you have 3 weeks to perform and to show the world what you have. And every single day you get to wake up and have that moment in the back of your mind. Now I remember The first time I went to the gym after Paris, I pulled up my Team USA app that has our strength and conditioning coach puts all their workouts on. And I remember being in the gym and pulling up that app and there was no workout. And I was like, wait, that's weird. Like, you're not going to tell me what to do in the gym anymore? Like, I can just kind of do whatever I want. And on one hand, it's super freeing. But on the other hand, it's like, man, there were so many guardrails and so many different versions of safety nets that allowed me to be the person I am today. And the scariest part is now that I'm not a wheelchair basketball player, who am I? You know, do I need that safety net? Do I need that in my life to do the things I want to do? Or should I maybe rip the Band-Aid off and say that, you know, I've progressed, I've grown in so many different versions of life. I don't need that side anymore because I can still have the impact and I can still be the person I want to be to myself and my loved ones. Transitions are hard, man.
Yeah.
They mess with your brain. I know that you're kind of going through a transition right now. If you want to speak to it, it's a mind bend, and no matter how much work you do beforehand, no matter how ready, quote unquote, you think you are, you're not until you go through it, until you feel those emotions, until you feel that what that does to you. It's a wild ride, but I'll say that I don't look back on it with any regrets. Like, this is something I need to do right now, and I'm very much leaning into those emotions and not running away from them.
Totally. Do you have something that in an ideal world you can do, and if you don't have an answer for this, that's completely fine, but it's like you can do whatever you want. You can, choose it. Is there something that it's like, wow, in an ideal world, I would do that, like right now?
So in the most ideal world, there's a couple of adaptive sports organizations around the country that focus on not only the adaptive sports side, but like the rehabilitation side, and allow people with disabilities, people with mobility needs and differences to come work out in a safe space, move their bodies, and build community. And if I could replicate something like that in Los Angeles or New York, I think that would be something that's like the pie in the sky. That's the North Star. That's like 20 years down the line. Yeah. If I want to really bite off like some big hairy goal, like that's what I see myself doing. For right now, though, I think some of my loved ones would say that I'm being a little bit too cautious. Like, I am not somebody who does anything half-assed. So that was one of the reasons why I had this great Team USA career. And every single 4 years, I had this huge goal. Yeah. But now, as I transition into something else I'm doing, I kind of dabble in something, and then I'm really quick to quit. Like, I'm just like, oh, like that doesn't feel the same. And then I go over here and then I do a keynote, and I'm like, okay, that was fun, but like that doesn't feel good. So I have to find that balance to know that, like, hey, whatever I do next, it may not ever feel like I did on Team USA. Like, it's never going to light the fire that I had in that same way. But I am being a little cautious. I have to admit that. I think my loved ones would say that as well. I am being a little like tiptoey to not go down the wrong path. And I have to get back to the version of like, hey, even if you go down the wrong path for a little bit, at least you tried something that you put all of yourself into. And if it doesn't work, you can always pivot. But right now, I am struggling to be to be brave enough to go down that whatever next path is.
I can completely understand that. From a different perspective, for me, it's entrepreneurship was that same thing. I knew I wanted to build a business. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I would come up with all these ideas, and I would be like, okay, this would be so fun, and I think it's a really good idea. It's solving a problem. But it would kind of stop there because I would start to go down, and I would get to points where I'm like, okay, I kind of have to maybe invest some money, or, I'm going to have to invest a lot more time into this idea. But I'm like, what if that's the wrong idea? What if this isn't the idea? So eventually just got to the point where it was like, okay, I'm just going to go for it. We're going to try it. We're going to see how it goes. And then if it turns out, okay, that's not the right thing I was supposed to do, the right business, then I can pivot, go do something else. But getting to that point was really hard because it is putting your time and your effort into something. So I can completely understand that. But also for you too, you've been doing this one thing for so long that transition would be much harder, especially like you said, you you're used to this certain feeling and a certain way of doing things. So to not be experiencing that in something new you're doing I can see how that can be very hard.
Well, I did listen to a podcast that you talked a little bit about your entrepreneurship journey, about like your coffee truck or that
coffee cart.
Coffee cart that you did, and
Yeah.
then obviously everything that you're doing for Uni outside of what you're doing in your everyday life. Like I can learn a lot from your journey. I will say that the thing I'm struggling with too is the idea that like if I want to be like a keynote speaker, and that's what I want to go down. Am I going to be okay with like not being like one of the best keynote speakers that there is in the world? Like those expectations are so high when you come from Team USA that you have to learn how to be okay with just being mediocre at whatever pathway that you go down. Like I have these aspirations of like completely changing what it means to have a disability in this world. But like, is that a realistic expectation? Like, is that fair on me? And if I don't meet those expectations, is that why I shouldn't try to do it? Like, I'm really trying to see the fact that like to be a little bit easier on myself.
Yeah.
Because when you have this career, it's a lot of self-reflection, it's a lot of evaluation, but there's not a lot of grace in Team USA. And that's some of the things that I'm trying to implement now. I'm not going to say that I'm all the way there, but it's definitely something on the back of my mind.
Yeah. Is working with Team USA in the future or any sort of coaching at any level at all a possibility or something you would like to do?
Yeah, I think coaching is a completely different skill set than than playing, and I want to be very sympathetic to that. I think it would be a really cool opportunity to like coach kids to understand that I have a lot to teach them on the field of play, but knowing how important it is to have that safety net, that mentor. Especially early on in your career, I think that'd be something I would really love to do, and to implement a lot of fun in the game to take a little pressure off these kids who it feels like they always have to show their highlight reel on social media every single second.
Yeah.
So I think I can absolutely see myself coaching something like that in the future. If it's something I want to do, I would really be honored to coach Team USA one day. But that's, again, it's like a pie in the sky. It's not something I take lightly. It's not something I think to myself like, okay, you have had success as a player, as a Team USA athlete, so now all of a sudden you have this entitlement to be a coach of men in Team USA or women. That's just not the way that I look at it. I feel like I need to put the time in and put the work in. But I won't say no to anything like that in the future.
Yeah.
It's an incredible team to be a part of. There's no greater feeling as an athlete than to wear those 3 letters across your chest, to know that not only are you representing yourself, but your loved ones, everybody back at home who's supporting you. Whether or not you win or lose, it's an amazing community to be a part of. And maybe I'm not diving headfirst into it because I know I want to be respectful of the people who are doing it now. And if I don't have 100% of myself to give to that, maybe that's not going to be the path for me. I'm very protective of that community. But I'm trying not to close the door on any of those opportunities.
Totally. As a role model for some of these younger adaptive athletes, whether you wanted to or not, because of your career, because of what you've accomplished, there's lots of kids that are looking up to you. Is that something you take on as a privilege, or is it kind of scary to be like looked up to in that way?
Yes, and yes, and yes to all of the things. Like I said, it's incredibly important to me to allow the next generation of adaptive sports athletes to see themselves in an athlete's journey that has had similar experiences to them. That's an unbelievable, powerful force of social media, and I love connecting with people every single day on, in that way, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, whatever have you. I will say that I get very protective of showing the highlight reel on social media, because I don't want people to see themselves and expect success or define their journey by the success that we or me have had. It's not why I did it. It's not why I am a Team USA athlete, and it's not why I want to be looked at as a mentor. It's a part of it. It's the side part of building a lot of great habits and a lot of great consistency and surrounding yourself with a lot of great people. But again, setting those expectations on every athlete that I come across, I feel like is incredibly unfair, which is why whenever I whenever I give keynotes or whenever I speak about myself, I always remind people that the most influential moment of my life was not the days that I won gold medals. It was the day that I found wheelchair basketball, because that was the day that completely altered the course of my career. Winning a gold medal is fantastic. It is reaching the top of the mountain, and you are allowed to collapse in your glory and just soak it all in. However, just because people don't reach that part of the journey, it doesn't make them any less of a Team USA athlete. It doesn't make them any less than if they never reach Team USA. The fact that we have the ability as people with disabilities to chase down our athletic endeavors is the thing I'm most passionate about. And I'm very, very sensitive to showing the highlight reel, especially on social media, because I don't want people to think that's what I'm about. I don't want people to think like that's the only thing that drives engagement and success and community. I really want to be the person that just connects people, especially the next generation of adaptive sports athletes, to whatever pathway they want to go down.
Totally. And because the highlight reel is everything you've done well. It doesn't show anything leading up. It doesn't show the work you put in. It doesn't show any of that. And so I can totally understand that, where that'd be if all kids are looking at is the highlight reel, then that doesn't show the full story or the full picture of what it actually goes through to get to where you've become. Yeah.
Yeah, and also I'm a very big introvert. So like I feel very uncomfortable sharing parts of my personal life on social media, which again makes me feel like it's unfair to only show when I'm doing well. Like for the last year, I've been a little bit more quiet on social than I've been to leading up to Paris. And the reason is because I kind of am going through some transitions. I am going through some thoughts, and I think that those things would be valuable to put on social media. However, I feel a little bit scared to. Like I do. I feel like I'm not trying to ask for help. I know that there's people out in my life that I can ask for help, but I just feel like this is a transition that I'm going through, and it's for me. And again, like this would be a great thing to put on social, but again, I'm sensitive in both ways to that.
Totally. Now, I'm going to ask you one last question. Now, this could probably be its own podcast, but when we're talking about accessibility in the U.S., and even I wanted to talk to you about that, even going overseas and kind of comparing the two, but what are we doing well here in the U.S., and then in what ways are we far off, and definitely change needs to happen?
So that's a great question. Thank you for asking it. I am an optimist. I'm a positive person. So let's focus on the things that we're doing well.
Okay.
I will say that let me set the mood for a little bit in a negative way. I am living in a world that is not built for me, plain and simple. For my mobility needs, I can't get to 100% of this world, this community, with my wheelchair. So let's just say that we always will have some work to do. On the positive side, there has never been greater awareness. There has never been greater engagement. There has never been a greater sense of community than I felt than leading into Paris and the current climate that we're working with as we lead to LA 2028, which is going to be an awesome games. I wish we would focus a little bit more on how important adaptive sports are to people's journeys rather than look at them as a hobby. So if I were to snap my finger and something would change immediately, it would be that adaptive sports equipment is not optional. Like they are covered by your health insurance. They are imperative to not only prevent disease and prevent obesity and provide somebody with a sense of fulfillment, but they are important, like I said, to a person's well-being, however you define that. So I hope that people understand how important and how monumental finding adaptive sports was for me in my journey, and then can translate that to their own. And like I said, there's tons of resources out there for people who need equipment and who need travel grants to pursue their athletic endeavors, but there's still not enough. We still need to work on that. Again, being a really positive person, the amount of awareness that we got from Peacock and from NBC and allowing amplification of our journeys, not only on the field of play in Paris, but off of it as people, was the best I've ever experienced. The challenge is going to be to consistently build out that awareness, because there's always somebody that we can be talking to that doesn't feel seen in this world. And those are the people that we want to be talking to and talking for as we chase down our endeavors on NBC and Peacock and all these great things on Team USA. So I would just say that as somebody who wants to focus on the positives, there's always more and more outlets for people to feel seen and to chase down whatever endeavor they want as someone with a disability or somebody with a mobility difference. And we'll never fully get there. We have a long way to go, but we're headed in the right direction.
That's great. Is there anywhere we can go to, like you said, we need insurance companies to pay for adaptive sports equipment? It's expensive. Is there anywhere we can go to kind of, I don't know, sign something or donate or do something to help move that along?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that there are some, in this political climate, I don't know if adaptive sports equipment is going to really make waves in the same way that other things. We have other issues that we need to address as a country first. But I would say that if you ever, so you can always write your congressman. You can always say that, hey, this is something that's important to me. I see how impactful this is, and this should change. I would say that if you reach out to a lot of the nonprofits that we'll put in the show notes, that they have a little bit more influence because they host these great fundraisers. They have a little bit more reach financially than just any individual. And I'll say that for people with disabilities, when you're living in a world that's not built for you, you have to carve your own path. You have to make yourself feel seen. You have to make yourself feel like this world is built for you. And that can happen in a number of different ways. It can happen on social media. It can happen with just your personality. It can happen with your grit and perseverance that people get the chance to see every single day. I stay away from like the inspiration porn side of things, that like, hey, you should feel inspired because I'm living my everyday life in a wheelchair. Like, let's not go down that route. However, I wake up inspired to change the world every single day because I have a disability. It's who I am. It's not something I'll ever hide away from. And that's my way to have a positive impact on the world and the community that has given me everything.
Amazing. Steve, thank you so much for coming on. It was a privilege to have you in here, take time out of your day. We so appreciate it. And I'm excited to see what you're going to do next. I'll be keeping up with you.
I appreciate you having me on, man.